I need to extend the steering shaft from the steering wheel all the way down to this point here that goes into the steering rack, which is over there. So what I've done is I have used a bearing block, which is here, and I've made up this support, which is there. So the support will bolt onto the chassis at this point. This is the cross member of the chassis, and you could make this come up straight and then go along and then go up. However, when you have a 90-degree bend, you're going to create a stress point. So it's always better to use a radius like this, so that all the force that's applied gets distributed evenly over this area, instead of a sharp point that comes like that. So the next thing I need to do is to extend the shaft, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I'm going to put another bearing, which is this one here, and this is going to fit there, and it's going to bolt onto this plate which I've bolted onto the side member of the chassis here. So I need to put a join here, and I've preferred to join it close to the bearing rather than roughly somewhere in the middle here. It's always better to have the joint close to a position where it's more stable within the bearing than in the midpoint. Now you do get a rag joint, which is this here. This is called a steering rag joint. So I'm going to make up something like this, but it's going to be bolted solid onto there. So here I'm going through with a 20mm drill. Use a bit of oil as a cutting fluid. Seems to be drilling okay. That's the hole drilled through. Now I can get the boring bar and bore it out. So here I'm boring the bush to take the steering shaft. So there's the bush made up and the steering shaft. Nice snug fit, so this will get welded on. So in order to get this as straight as I can, I've pegged this and formed a tape on either side so I can weld it. And I've clamped it in this clamp, and I'm going to weld this up. I've used a straight edge to get it the best, so we'll see whether it's going to be straight at the end. So this welded up nicely. You can see by putting a dowel in the joint helps quite a bit, because you can see the minimum run out, and this is a steering shaft, so it's not going to be spinning as fast as this, but all looks true, all looks good. So I'm making up a rag type joint which is going to connect the steering shaft together. So I've welded these onto that boss, and I'm just going to bore a hole in the middle so I can line up the two, drill the holes, the 3 holes that I'm putting in, and tap a thread on one side. What I've done here is I've drilled a 10mm hole. I've faced off this face so that it is all squared up with the boss that I welded on. So this should make a nice rag joint and be accurate at the same time. So there's various ways of marking the 3 points where I'm going to drill the holes. I could measure it and use a compass, or use an indexing head, which I don't have. So the way I do it is I draw it on AutoCAD, and then I print it out 1:1 scale, and then I glue it on wherever I want to drill, and then I just center punch the points, and this gives me quite a good degree of accuracy as to where I want to put the holes. So here I've center punched the 3 holes, came out pretty accurate, so now I can drill and tap.